And I think it's about time to begin this session. We will begin with the German time as exactly. This welcome everyone to the 10th Virtual Enrichment Day, part of Horizon Southeast Asia Pushing the Frontier of Research and Sustainability Projects. And this is our last on-ride sharing session. And have our guest speaker, Dr. Roger Shao. He is a former ASEAN Secretariat education head and honorary distinguished professor at Kunwun University, and also the chair technical panel on transnational education. He has a wide, extensive experience and background in international education and development, including the work at with UNESCO, UNICEF, and the European Commissions. He earned his PhD in Asian and International Studies from City University of Hong Kong. And he will be sharing us the insights about the recent development of higher education in Southeast Asia. So please give a round of applause and we will begin the session. Please welcome Dr. Roger Shao. So turn off the screen.
Thank you, everyone. Let me share my PowerPoint. Okay. Now, I'm going to start by going through key documents. One of the first things that are most important is the Kuala Lumpur Declaration, which was adopted in 2015. There are two, actually. One is talking about the establishment of the ASEAN community, and the other one is the Kuala Lumpur Declaration on Education. But in terms of ASEAN community, we have to remember that there are three key pillars: political security, economic, and social-cultural. Education is within the ASEAN socio-cultural community, but it is very strongly linked with the ASEAN economic community, as you'll see in the later presentations. Now, under Malaysia chair, Malaysia's ASEAN chair this year, it has adopted the Kuala Lumpur Declaration on ASEAN 2045, our shared future. That was in May. Now, within that ASEAN 2045, within ASEAN sociocultural community, it's still focused on, having a people-centered, people-oriented, interconnected ASEAN community. About a caring community which is participative, inclusive, sustainable, and one that promotes social cohesion, essentially ensuring the full potential and improve the quality of life of the ASEAN population or ASEAN people, and the notion of shared prosperity and leaving no one behind. There's also a focus on optimizing the demographic bonus, making ASEAN an epicenter of growth and innovation through an inclusive, comprehensive, and transformative education in a conducive learning environment. I cannot see them. Okay. Now, aside from the education-related aspects, there's also a focus on a healthy ASEAN, a focus on people playing an active role in all aspects of life, including promotion of human security, enhancing resilience through public-private partnerships, particularly through the ASEAN Sustainability Agenda. There's a focus on women empowerment and enhancing full and effective participation in ASEAN community building, and there's a strong focus on meaningful contribution of youth and enhancing their dynamic, innovative, and towards building a dynamic, innovative, and resilient ASEAN community. Now, the past years, we saw a number of key declarations which are of relevance to higher education. In 2022 and 2023, respectively, we had the ASEAN Declaration on Digital Transformation of Education Systems throughout ASEAN and its roadmap. The ASEAN Leaders Declaration on Early Childhood Care and Education in Southeast Asia and the Vientiane Statement on Early Access and Environment, Advancing Climate Resilience in Early Childhood Settings in ASEAN, was adopted 23 and 24, 2023 and 24. Although it's not directly relevant to higher education, we have to highlight that in certain programs in higher education, which focus on teacher education and teacher development, and of course, continuing professional development, the key focus on early childhood care and education and enhancing climate resilience as early as possible through early childhood settings is very important and contributes to curriculum development and how we address early childhood um, education and care. Now, directly relevant is the roadmap to ASEAN higher education space that was launched in 2022 and the ASEAN Simeo Joint Declaration on a Common Higher Education Space in Southeast Asia, which was adopted in 2024. Reopen, Recover, and Resilience and Education Guidelines for ASEAN countries adopted launched in 2022 is important because of the notion of learning recovery and resilience. This covers the entire sector, including higher education and the Inter-ASEAN Scholarship Program Phase 1. The report has already been launched. Now, why is digital transformation important and significant to higher education? Because we are moving towards the use of ICT in education. It has been significantly enhanced during COVID. And now the increasing use of MOOCs, micro-credentials, COIL, is virtual mobility, virtual internships, is increasingly being recognized and utilized across different higher education institutions and across different countries. Now, there's a significant focus on enhancing and the use of appropriate digital pedagogies and formative assessments, learning management resources, EMIS, open education data, and of course, enhancing the opportunity to understand and fund digital transformation of education. Take note the difference between digitalization and digital transformation. Digitalization is only changing text records and something into digital format. So digital transformation is not just about the text, it's not about the resources, it's about the curriculum, the assessment procedures, and a lot more. Another key focus in the region has been seen in terms of the ASEAN Declaration on Human Resource Development for a Changing World of Work. There's a focus on improving access to quality of skills training and job opportunities and promoting policies and initiatives for lifelong learning and alignment of policies, particularly within labor, education, and economic policies and institutional frameworks. Now, why is this important for higher education and the future development of higher education in the region and ASEAN member states? It's because, as I mentioned earlier, the ASEAN sociocultural community and ASEAN economic community are very strongly linked. In higher education in particular, a lot of the things in higher education is focused on enhancing competitiveness at national level and regional level, but it's also about enhancing graduate employability, continuing professional development. There's a strong focus recently on sustainable development. And in some countries, there are national policies and even institutional policies related to sustainability. And I have some examples eventually. Now, I mentioned the roadmap on ASEAN higher education space. We have to give credit to the European Union for its support during the EU Share program from 2015 to 2022. Now, aside from that, as you would probably know, the notion of an ASEAN higher education space or a Southeast Asian higher education space started with Dr. Supachai, former AUN Executive Director and former CMURI Head Executive Director as well, CMURI Head Director. Now, I'm just going to put some key areas, the rationale actually of this roadmap. But take note, this is only until 2025, and then the focus should be shifted towards the common higher education space in Southeast Asia. The work plan and the TOR are still in the process of endorsement and adoption. So the main idea is to implement a higher education space and enhance mobility of students and eventually faculty and professionals, hopefully. So key main areas. Take note, in any higher education environment, be it at national or regional or even global level, the key focus areas would be quality assurance, the qualifications, so enhancing mobility, be it students, faculty, even admin, and even professional mobility. And the promotion of mutual recognition, since we're talking about regions and cross-country collaboration, we talk about mutual recognition of qualifications and professional qualifications eventually, but that's under the ASEAN Economic Community. Now, key area 1 and 6 are more focused on creating ASEAN awareness and, of course, ensuring sustainability and setting the foundations for a common space. Was there a need for an ASEAN CMEO joint declaration on a common higher education space in Southeast Asia? Because actually, we are one region, we have one common higher education space. We should have one common higher education space. To ensure enhanced cooperation, coordination, and collaboration, to strengthen the partnership, and of course, building co-ownership. Highlighting the fact that, you know, um, enhancing a common higher education space is not about countries and other respective higher education systems working separately or in silos, but essentially building something more than just cooperation. There's a significant difference between cooperation and collaboration and actually building a common space. When was it? I think I wrote in 2014, or was it 17, highlighting that ASEAN's focus on higher education has actually moved from cooperation to collaboration to basically enhancing a common space, um, towards higher education as a means and a significant lever for ASEAN community building. So higher education not only is focused on building and supporting employability, enhancing GDP, but actually has a greater focus in terms of building the greater notion of an ASEAN community. Inter-ASEAN Scholarship Program, the report has been launched. I think it should be available at the ASEAN website. Now, one of the things that this Inter-ASEAN Scholarship Program Phase 1, take note, this is a scoping study looking at significant scholarships within the region, across different countries, and different models from different countries outside the region as well. And the key result highlights that there are 4 key models, but key stakeholders, particularly from governments in ASEAN, are looking at the potential for Model A, which is a platform type approach, and Model D, which is an Erasmus type partnership program. The Model A is similar to what was launched earlier this year, I think in June, the ASEAN GEMS platform, which is a website which highlights key scholarships that are available and supports collaboration among different ASEAN member states' higher education systems. It also facilitates, the processing of scholarships, but I don't know where and how much push towards that direction will happen eventually, because the platform was just launched. But I heard that EMGS, Education Malaysia Global Services, is asking and requesting ministries of higher education across all ASEAN member states to give information on all the scholarships that are available for ASEAN nationals. Now, I've talked about previous declarations and policies that has been happening or has been adopted the past years. Now, let me go back to the Kuala Lumpur Declaration on Higher Education 2015. What was the key idea? It acknowledged that higher education is one of the catalysts for accelerating ASEAN's development agenda. It uphold, well, it's supposed to uphold quality in the provision of higher education across member states, enhance academic contribution of ASEAN higher education within the global academic community, highlighting that within the ASEAN Economic Community Blueprint, if I remember right, under ASEAN Social Cultural Community, it highlights the ASEAN community is a part of the global community and contributes to the global community, both in terms of putting forward innovative challenge solutions to challenges. So this one is highlighting that ASEAN higher education will contribute to the global academic community. Foster sustainable local community development through participation of youth professionals, volunteers in entrepreneurial endeavors. A focus on building an innovation-driven ASEAN community, particularly highlighting the importance of critical thinking capability and skills, and enhancing the capacity building offered by ASEAN higher education institutions, particularly through lifelong learning, online blended learning, transnational education, and other flexible learning options. Now, 10 years later, I mean, this year, 2025, what happened? The ASEAN Leaders Declaration on Higher Education towards an inclusive, sustainable, and prosperous ASEAN was endorsed June 2025 and is going to be adopted, or at least expected to be adopted at the ASEAN Summit this October. I haven't seen the actual text, but I heard it's a reinforcement of the key statements within the Kuala Lumpur Declaration on Higher Education 2015. And I believe there will be a significant text towards regional cooperation and the common space, a common higher education space. But I don't want to preempt anything that has not been adopted yet, but I think there will be a significant focus on that. Now, ASEAN GEMS, as I mentioned earlier, is ASEAN Global Exchange for Mobility and Scholarships. It was launched June 19 this year, and it's a regional initiative that will promote inclusive mobility opportunities for students, faculty, and researchers throughout Southeast Asia and beyond. This year, we had the inaugural ASEAN Higher Education Ministers Roundtable. And I cannot see the last one. Okay. And the work plan and roadmap towards a common higher education space in Southeast Asia is still in the process of endorsement and adoption. We, RIHED and ASEAN work on this together as early as January, and it has been, moving forward. The thing that is important is that the steering committee of the former ASEAN Working Group on Higher Education Mobility is now called RISE, which is a regional initiative. Let me check my notes. Yeah, the Regional Initiative for Southeast Asian Higher Education, Steering Committee on the Common Space in Southeast Asian Higher Education. That means that will be the steering committee that will be guiding the development of the common higher education space in Southeast Asia. Now, aside from declarations, what I mentioned earlier, the key issues of qualifications, quality assurance, and other stuff that are important, what is happening? If we're talking about the developments of higher education, we have to know that the ASEAN qualifications reference framework is currently being revisited, and there are actually three focal groups. One is on digital recognition of qualifications, particularly focused on introducing digital recognition of qualifications between ASEAN member states. The second focus group focused on promoting quality assurance principles, essentially in terms of quality assurance principles focused on qualifications. And the third one is third-party comparison. Um, there's a focus on enhancing, on including MOOCs micro-credentials into the ASEAN reference, qualifications reference framework. We all know that there was an ASEAN qualifications assurance framework, which was developed by ACAN, as in quality assurance network, with support from the European Union through the EU-Share project. And the framework is there, but it's not really aligned or not developed fully in terms of its relationship with multiple quality assurance practices and other aspects of quality assurance in the region. It does not put standards, but it puts principles. So there are four key quadrants: external quality assurance, which its main role will be to maintain and sustain quality of education. External quality assurance standards and processes. Basically, external quality assurance focus on standards and process. Internal quality assurance, which focus on the quality of higher education, um, particularly at institutional level. And the national qualifications framework. The alignment between all these four quadrants is part of ASEAN qualifications. Um, sorry, it's quality assurance framework, not qualifications assurance framework. Now, when we talk about quality assurance, one of the most accepted quality assurance practices and programs are the AUN quality assurance, which is also, AUN QA as we call it. Now, this is just a fact sheet I took from the AUN website, highlighting that as of August 2024, they had more than 383 assessments in 1,251 study programs. They also conduct trainings, institutional assessments. Take note, AUN and AUN QA has been established for years, but it does not mean it has not changed or has not revised. In fact, the recent AUN key documents now are these documents: the AUN QA Internal Quality Assurance Framework and the Guide to AUN QA Assessment at Program Level, version 4, and the Guide to AUN QA Assessment at Institutional Level, version 3. And of course, the guidelines for AUN quality assessment and assessors, version 2. Those that has been actively working with AUN also knows that AUN has been conducting QA training, QA assessors training at different levels. Now, one of the key issues that I see in regional higher education is actually in terms of credit transfer. We have the ASEAN credit transfer system used by AUN for its mobility programs for AUN member states and associate members. Oh, no, sorry, AUN members, member education institutions and its associate members. We have the AIMS credit transfer system used by Simurahead, particularly for the AIMS program. And you have the UCTS used by the UMAP program. And you have EU ECTS. Take note that during the share program and the share mobility programs, they designed a credit transfer system also to be used by their programs. I remembered Professor Hota was working with Simio Raihed and developed the academic credit transfer framework for Asia. This has been piloted, I think, in 2014, but it has not been widely used so far, and I think it didn't move forward. The key challenge in terms of credit transfer in the region is we have to eventually decide if we want one credit transfer system or do we need to have a translation mechanism for credit transfers. As of today, we have multiple credit transfers which are consortium based. And if you don't actually work with a consortium or the same consortium, then you'll have a need for individual institution to institution agreement on how much credits will be transferred between the host and the sending institutions. Now, I would like to, these are some old slides that I wanted to present, highlighting the importance and, key initiatives from different countries. Indonesia's Merdeka Belajar, emancipated learning, is an example of the use of ICT in admin, curriculum development, peer learning, and assessments. It also includes, purchasing, but it cuts across all sectors of government. I think it's being revisited now by the current administration. I'm not sure if it's continuing. Now, during the former president's time, Indonesia Cyber Education Institute under Universitas Terbuka has been significantly developing a platform with multiple MOOCs from various providers, not limited to Indonesia or ASEAN member states. They also have providers from other countries, and it provided them with academic credits from the Indonesian higher education system. This is just an example of the different platforms within Merdeka Belajar. Now, Malaysia. The Malaysian Qualifications Agency has several key guidelines related to digital transformation. Its guidelines for credit transfer of MOOCs in 2016, the guidelines to good practices of micro-credentials in 2020. Take note, these are the 2020 guidelines on micro-credentials are focused on micro-credentials which were taken up or broken down from existing programs. And the 2023 guidelines to good practices, quality verification of standalone micro-credentials, is about new micro-credentials developed not related to existing programs. In June last year, is it June, July? Yeah, I think end of June last year, the Malaysian Higher Education, Malaysian Ministry of Higher Education actually had a bidding calling for bids on who's going to develop a national micro-credential platform. Furthermore, state universities in Malaysia has their own quality assurance mechanisms inside their university on approving micro-credentials that will be offered by their university. They have a very strict process. Aside from that, it also goes through MQA. Now, we're talking about sustainable development, talking about higher education. When I was in Malaysia, I was in Malaysia for 3 weeks last year, going around different universities in different parts of Malaysia. One of the things that I realized is that they had a national plan focused on sustainable development. They have smart and sustainable campus. They have sustainable development goals, related plans, and environment, social, and governance, focus, at least in their 12 national plan. In the Philippines, there's a significant focus of transnational internationalization and transnational higher education. To give you an overview, one of the landmark laws that has been passed related to higher education has been the Republic Act 1144-8, which is also known as the Transnational Higher Education Act. This was in 2019. It mandates the Commission on Higher Education to formulate a coherent national strategy to encourage and facilitate the establishment of the most effective forms of transnational higher education programs and institutions in the country. It will also, the Act also identifies and defines the types of higher education, transnational higher education programs to be offered, and facilitating opening and offering of transnational higher education programs in the Philippines. Guidelines will be issued by CHED to ensure quality assurance, curriculum innovation, student diversity, and research and development. Take note, although I'm talking about the Philippines, we also have to highlight that Vietnam is focused on enhancing transnational higher education as well outside of its current model. The British Council has recently published a report for Vietnam on the various models of higher education hubs, similar to what Malaysia, Dubai, India has, The Philippines is also looking at the notion of establishing a higher education hub, but there are several key hurdles in terms of laws and how to approach it. We're moving forward though. Now, the next thing is I'd like to show you what's happening, particularly in Indonesia, the past years. Monash University opened in Jakarta in 2022. Deakin Lancaster University partnership in Bandung in 2024. It was through a dual program. Western Sydney in Surabaya in 2023. Central Queensland, they have a center with a university in 2019, but the plan for a branch campus is not yet clear. Malaysia, it says, according to QS, Malaysia has roughly 10 foreign branch campuses, and these are just a few. Monash, Southampton, Nottingham, Newcastle, Reading, University College, Dublin, Costain, Heriot-Watt, Swinburne, University of Technology, and Xiamen University. Now, this is according to Siebert. I think this is based in figures on 2024. Singapore has 16 international campuses. Malaysia has 15. And these are, the top importers. So why am I talking about all these branch campuses, internationalization, and transnational higher education? Because this is a key focus of higher education in the region. We have to remember that in spite of the fact that we talk about creating a common higher education space, that each of our respective higher education institutions and higher education systems are competing with each other. We work together to strengthen higher education quality. We work together to enhance recognition. We work together to enhance quality of our higher education programs. But at the end of the day, each and every institution is competing with each other. Even at national level, we compete with each other for students, for faculty, for recognition. That's why there's also a focus on global rankings, global higher education rankings. Now, universities are seen as model institutions and should be seen as model institutions, but it should also focus on key elements like enhancing how it contributes to sustainable development goals, not just at the community level, but as a university. We have to look at enhancing the empowerment of educators, the use of transformative technologies. How does our higher education institutions actually use transformative technologies such as MOOCs, micro-credentials? How many of us actually utilize the potential of virtual mobility and virtual internships? Teaching and learning in terms of greening the education and curriculum to enhance the understanding and contribution of our students and faculty and even research towards sustainable development of our country and our region. Research and innovation, I have seen, particularly in Malaysia, living laboratories, particularly related to energy, sustainable development, and greening the campus, and a lot of these things, smart cities. And there's a strong focus of community engagement. Remember, we always talk about the university's mission to be teaching and learning, research, and community engagement. We tend to forget that it's not community engagement is not limited to what we give to the community. It's also about what the community can give to us in terms of enhancing curriculum development, enhancing how we see the community and how we contribute to sustainable development goals. And you would be surprised at how the local communities contribute to enhancing our mindset and even the research agenda necessary to enhance and provide innovative solutions to key challenges, not just in local community, our country, but also in the region. Universities should co-own, co-design, co-develop, and co-implement projects, programs, not just research, but it should work together with key stakeholders within their local communities and between universities as well. So when we talk about a common higher education space in Southeast Asia, we're not talking about a space where, we brand. We talk about collaboration, stakeholder working together, collaborating towards enhancing not just the image of higher education in Southeast Asia, but we're talking about collaborating to really transform education, that each and every higher education system and higher education institution will improve. Take note, we are not talking about all higher education institutions and all Southeast Asian higher education systems to be at par. It's impossible. The important thing there is we work together, we collaborate to raise our quality of higher education programs. We work together to share resources, to share, when we talk of resources, it's not about money, it's about our knowledge, it's about our resources for research. In some areas, we have where cases for which are unique, like the Mekong River, biodiversity issues. We talk about green energy. We talk about the different challenges of each and every Southeast Asian, country. So we talk about collaborating to enhance not just the opportunities for research, but also to enhance the way we teach, to enhance our knowledge base, and to work together towards building a better understanding of how higher education contributes to sustainable development and enhancing the quality of higher education programs and the graduates. And of course, science, technology, and innovation, particularly from higher education and industry partnerships. Take note, everything has to be done in terms of collaborative aspect. There has to be a win-win situation. There is no such thing as one taking the lead and everyone following. There has to be a win-win partnership or collaborations so that the common higher education space can sustain its momentum and literally transform higher education in Southeast Asia. I don't know how much time I spent, but did I go over time? I think this is my last
No,
slide.
still have time. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for your attention, and I'm open to questions, and I can enhance more. How much time did I use?
About the time that we have given. So thank you very much, Dr. Roger
Okay.
Chow, very comprehensive for the conclusion. We also do agree for the we are here together as a region to share resources, the research, and as part of our project, we also uh aim to share the resources and knowledge to our participants as well. So now the floor is open for any questions to our participant if you do have. Feel free to unmute, raise your hand, or you may type your questions in the chat box.
May I ask question?
Yes, please, Dr. Shinta.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Roger. Very informative. Uh, uh, my question is more on when you mentioned about the Erasmus project in Southeast Asian country. Uh, I believe that some of actor or the leading institution in under Seameo Raihet, uh, uh, I mean, me myself, I haven't has any experience about joining the Erasmus project, and I'm looking forward to have a kind of maybe consortium or knowing the actor of this Erasmus project in Southeast Asia. Of course, later together with the EU partners, but maybe you can introduce me or inform me about the most active institution in ASEAN working with the Erasmus project related with the food technology, agriculture, and sustainable development issues related with the zero hunger.
Yes, yes. The Eurorex actually promotes the Erasmus program, at least the CBHE programs, the European Research Council programs, and they call for partners. It's quite competitive, and that's one aspect. But it's the EU delegation from your countries and some EU agencies that will be promoting together with your ministries. The same, I think they have highlighted Erasmus focal points for each country, and they will be
Mhm,
having events both virtual and in person.
mhm,
Yeah. The thing I forgot to mention is aside from talking about, QA, qualifications recognition, I'm hoping that next year that we will be able to launch an ASEAN program, discipline specific program,
I see.
um, with ASEAN partners, Southeast Asian
Mhm,
partners, partner universities, because I have not seen any program which is actually developed for Southeast Asia alone by Southeast
mhm,
Asian institutions. And we have to remember that, our universities and our higher education system do have something to offer to the world.
mhm.
And by working together on developing, a Southeast Asian Erasmus-like program on key disciplines where we have certain advantages in terms of location, the experiments and something. And it does not have to be all teaching, Some partners can be there for the field work, for internship, something. So it's a, if we don't start working on it, then it will not happen.
Yeah,
It's the start and the discussion that is difficult. Once
yeah,
we know how to do it, then we will move forward. You'd be surprised at the benefits of having Southeast Asian higher education institutions working together on developing a program, be it
yeah.
bachelor's, master's, or even PhD programs on key niche programs, and the
Mhm,
collaboration and understanding it puts in to our students and faculty. So I
yeah.
think it's something that is I'm hoping that the Philippines chairmanship next year as a chairmanship will work on. I've talked to them about it, but I cannot promise anything because I don't make decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But mostly when institution joining CMO Raihat, they are appointed by the minister. And I'm from private university, so I'm not included in the activity because for Indonesian,
Mm.
mostly appointed for the state university. So I'm willing to see the possibility that through Seameo Raihet, for example, there is a possibility, open opportunity for also joining the activities,
Mhm.
even
Um,
not as a part of the appointed institution from the minister.
Yes, I'm not going to talk on behalf of Choltis, but I believe Choltis is open-minded enough. I know, sometimes we have our own limitations. It's not that we don't want to be inclusive. I honestly, even in my country, even in the region, I have talked about why is funding limited to this, why is participation. We are actually limited by number of spaces, number of funds. That's why it's good to use digital platforms, because it's cheaper, and then we can invite more people. If we're going to fly in people left and right, then we have problems. I've had my share. So I honestly speaking, Choltis will also have his own problem and making it happen. It's not that he doesn't want it. I'm pretty sure he wants it. But participating in Erasmus programs, higher education, research, something, is not limited to public universities. So when there are Erasmus roadshows happening, be it virtual or in your country, in person, you can join and see how to work together. Sometimes you can also meet key partners, but it's not easy, honestly speaking. Yeah, because you're competing for funding with so many people.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other questions, queries, or harsh reactions?
Please, I wanted to something about discuss with you. First of all, thank you very much for your informative and interesting presentation. I would like to know about your digital pedagogies mentioned in your presentation. Digital pedagogy is one of the challenge in our academia at present.
Yes.
Would you like to share a brief or your experience? Would you like to share a brief?
I'm not an expert in digital pedagogy, but let me give you my insights. When outcomes-based teaching and learning was mandated in several higher education systems, even now, the key challenge has been on actual implementation. That's one. You put it on paper, this particular session, lecture will focus on this, and you will learn this and that. And then that you will assess using these assessment mechanisms. In reality, it's not happening. In spite of the fact that it has been, implemented for more than 10 years. It's not happening. Reality, the issue is our faculty is not equipped. Second thing there is, it's not easy. You're adding on more work to the faculty. I mean, you imagine having to lecture, and then each lecture you have to pinpoint where you teach, critical skills, communication skills, all these skills. It's not easy to assess. And I have talked to when I was in Bangladesh, my friend there asked me to help him organize events for QA for outcomes-based teaching and learning, because the UGC in Bangladesh mandated the use of outcomes-based teaching and learning and only gave them one-day seminar, and that's it. So they still don't know what it is, and it was a few years ago. And then I talked to a group who does research on this, and they told me they have the same problem. They have not solved the problem of QA for OBTL. So that's the aspect. In terms of digital pedagogy, it has to be something. It's not about teaching people about the new apps. It's not about teaching people about, how to enhance collaboration through new applications or the use of simulations. It moves towards a change of mindset and understanding of how digital education is used. The learning environment is totally different. The characteristics of learners now is totally different from 10, 20 years ago. And this requires a change of mindset. Yeah. So it requires a better understanding of the new students and the need and competencies of teachers to actually engage with students to make it more active, not passive learning, not automated that all the learning is done through computers and assessment something. Although there's learning there, but I still think that, professors are there to facilitate learning. We can facilitate the learning, uh, and of course the human interaction between our students and the professors or teaching assistants. We have to remember that we don't want robots. We don't want our graduates to be robots, and 1 + 1 = 2. They don't even understand anymore. So it has to be, I don't know. We have to figure out a way where it's not just about the use of technology, but a change of understanding,
Yes.
yeah, and how learning should be done,
Yeah.
to make sure that the students
Yeah.
will learn and will continuously learn eventually after they graduate. Because at the end of the day, what they learn will be useless in 5 years' time. Sometimes when they graduate, it's no longer useful. Same thing
Yeah.
happened to me when I graduated. So I had to learn all over again. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your advising.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Yeah, Sisa Tepate, yeah. Any
See
other
no other
questions?
questions. Maybe one last question. Just would like to get some insight out of the PowerPoint in terms of the how U.S. policy or Trump administration affect the trend or higher education in Southeast Asia.
The focus will be more on, student mobility into the US, with a stronger focus on limits on immigration, particularly for students. But take note, it's not only the US. Australia is having this international student cap. I think Canada has quite recently, I think last year. And that's the reason why Australian universities are now talking to the Philippines with the potential of establishing their branch campuses or transnational higher education programs in the Philippines. So we've talked to them already, some of them, at least the commission, not me directly. But we are still in discussion. So that's one thing. You may see an increased number of, international students from the US coming to the region. Take note, Southeast Asia is a major region. It's a focus of the US. They want to work closely with Southeast Asia. So we might actually see the US coming and giving support to higher education. I just talked to someone from the US consulate 2 weeks ago, in the Philippines. They were talking about higher education as a strong diplomatic tool. And I still believe that there will be changes in US policies in terms of collaborating research, and student and faculty mobility will still be there. I heard them talk about the Fulbright program. It will still continue. It's not going to end. So it will be the focus will be on fewer students from Southeast Asia going to the States. Yeah, yeah. Particularly some countries. It's complex issues in terms of foreign policy. And foreign policy is something we cannot really dictate at our level. But higher education and education as a sector is supposed to be non-political. But we're hoping that, it facilitates more dialogue. People in the sector should be the ones to enhance, dialogue to ensure more collaboration rather than all these issues that separates all of us. I hope I answered the question though.
Thank you so much. So I think it's almost the time. Is there any other from the floor? If not, then I think we may close the last final virtual enrichment day. And thank you very much, Dr. Roja Chow, for your time sharing very fruitful information about recent higher education in Southeast Asia. So, and again, thank you everyone for joining, and then we will share the materials to all of you again. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. See you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Rachel.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bye.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so